Hey, all my foodie friends and family. Hope you're doing well. We're back today to do a couple of side dishes that were my mother's favorites. And every now and then I remember them, so today I'm going to memorialize them in a video. We're going to start by doing a creamy asparagus recipe. She always seemed to have a couple of cans of asparagus cuttings in the cupboard just for a night when she didn't feel like making too much and she was making pork chops or something like that, and this was a great side dish. So in a skillet I've added about a tablespoon of butter, and I'm just waiting for that to get nice and frothy, and I'm going to add a tablespoon of flour. This is a typical French roux recipe where you have equal fat to equal flour. So you will never go wrong if you always follow that basic principle. No matter how much roux you need, if you're making a big batch of gravy or something, it's always 1-to-1. But for this case, 1 tablespoon of flour and 1 tablespoon of butter is good enough. It'll make a great sauce. So we need to make sure that we cook out the flour because you don't want that kind of grainy taste. If you ever get that someplace, it's because someone didn't take the time to cook out the flour. We're adding some seasoning, salt and pepper in this case. It's pretty simple because we want to keep the flavor of the asparagus rather than of the seasonings. And you'll see why in a second. So you want to continue sauteing the flour. Don't let it go brown though. I've got 2 cans of asparagus cuttings. You can also use whole asparagus. And I'm adding the juice from both cans, without the lid, into the roux mix. This way you get the absolutely intense flavor of asparagus from the water that it was cooked in. Don't throw it away and use just plain water. You're missing out on all the flavor. There's a second can. If you do decide to use canned asparagus spears, you're going to have to be a little bit more careful about how you stir up the sauce because you'll break the tips because they're so tender from being cooked in a can. But it was always, my mom said it was always cheaper to buy the cuttings, and they were really good, I have to say. For something so simple, this was so good. This will make a great side dish, and I learned later on that it's absolutely delicious on spaghetti. So imagine that. So I've added a dash of Maggi, of course. My mother always cooked with Maggi, you know that by now. Maggi is just, it's kind of like Worcestershire with meat. This is Maggi with vegetables. It's made out of vegetables. It's not made out of anchovies and stuff like that. But it's just as delicious. So if you want a vegetarian version of Worcestershire, use Maggi. Now I did have a little quick taste of the sauce and felt that it was a little bit too bland in flavor, so I added a little bit more salt and pepper. Once your sauce has come up to temperature and thickened, we're adding the 2 cans of asparagus, and we're just giving it a light toss because the asparagus is cooked already. You just want to get all that sauce over all that yummy asparagus. This is so good, I can't believe that I don't do this more often. Once you make it, you're going to go, yeah, that's really easy and really good. Oh, there's my taste test. And it must be yummy. So you bring that up to a boil, and the sauce will thicken up with the asparagus in it because the asparagus will add some more liquid once it gets heated up. It exudes a bit more water. So there it is finished. Use it as a side dish for some roast or some pork chops. Use it as a topping for some pasta. It is absolutely delicious. This is something else my mother used to make all the time, was this quick green bean salad. She always had, again, a couple of cans of French-style green beans in the cupboard. She loved this dish, and I can see why. So I've used 2 to 3 cans of French-style seasoned green beans that I've drained. I'm adding 1 onion that's diced pretty fine, and I'm adding some salt and pepper. This is another one of those dishes that, on a night where maybe you've made pork chops or something and you don't have a side, or you don't have some salad in the fridge, this works great. It's even better if you chill it overnight and use it the next day, but you can use it as is. Of course, my mother made this, so dash of Maggi. You can't get away in my household without a dash of Maggi somewhere. And I'm adding some extra virgin olive oil. You can use whatever oil you prefer. The ratio between oil and vinegar is kind of like a vinaigrette, where you have 1 part oil and 2 parts vinegar. But you taste it and decide if it needs to be maybe just a bit more sour or not. So I'm adding some good quality red wine vinegar. And you need to give this a good toss, but gently, because everything is cooked already, so you don't want to break up the green beans into little bits. You need to give this a taste as well, because it might not be quite sour enough and you need to add some extra vinegar. You didn't see me add it, but I put some salt and pepper in there too. You adjust the seasoning as you like. If you like these recipes, I'd love it if you'd subscribe. More foodies here, the better. Thanks for stopping by for some more food that warms my soul and yours too. See you next time.